oh, this is perfect. It's just right.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into, well, one of the most striking symbolic flips in history, I think.
It really is incredible.
We're tracing how the domestic cat, and specifically black cat, went from being this revered godlike figure in antiquity
Practically worshipped.
to being seen as, an agent of the devil in medieval Europe, an 8th century turnaround.
It's an absolutely astounding journey, and really this path from sanctuary to devil's familiar, it tells us so much more about human social anxieties and religious power structures in Europe than it does about cats themselves.
Exactly. That's really the heart of what we want to unpack today. We've gathered your sources, and we're going to explore this huge shift, looking at the key institutional moves and cultural fears that really sealed the black cat's fate in the West.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's start at the high point. Before all the demonizing stuff, cats had this incredibly high status. Where and when was like the absolute peak of cat reverence?
Oh, that's definitely ancient Egypt, no question. The respect for the cat was, well, it was practical, but also deeply spiritual.
Practical how?
Well, practically, they were invaluable pest control, saving grain stores from mice and rats. That's not trivial. That's about protecting the food supply, the economy, a life-saving function, really.
Okay, so vital workers. But it went way beyond just catching mice, didn't it? It got divine.
Absolutely. They were seen as actual divine incarnations of light, of protection. The big connection, the main one, was to the goddess Bastet.
Often shown with a cat's head, right?
Exactly. She represented protecting the home, fertility, defense against evil spirits. So having a cat in your house wasn't just useful, it was like having a little piece of divine protection right there with you. Religious comfort.
Wow. And the sources show the law reflected the sacred status. I mean, really rigorously.
Oh, absolutely. Killing a cat, even if it was an accident,
Just a mistake.
yeah, it could actually get you the death penalty.
Whoa. A capital offense for harming a cat. That's serious reverence. Okay, so what characteristics were valued then that later became, like, the exact reasons they were condemned?
Yeah, this is where the big flip starts. In Egypt, things like the cat's independence, its agility, its nocturnal nature.
Staying awake at night.
Right. Those were seen as signs of mystic power. Evidence it was connected to the unseen world could maybe ward off things that go bump in the night.
Oh.
But later, the Inquisition seized on those exact same traits. Being independent, being out at night, being a bit untamed as proof of a connection to darkness, to demons, to witchcraft.
A complete reversal. And it wasn't only Egypt holding them in high regard before things went south in Europe.
No, definitely not. The Romans, for example, they admired that independent spirit. They linked cats with Liberta.
The goddess of freedom.
Exactly. Tying the cat's nature directly to this, core Roman virtue. And if you look east to Asia, particularly in, say, Buddhist traditions in Thailand or Myanmar, cats were often treated with real spiritual respect, sometimes thought to house souls waiting for rebirth. So the persecution that followed in Europe, it really stands out as a uniquely Western phenomenon, a tragedy, really.
Okay, so here's where it starts to turn dark in Europe. The church didn't just invent the fear of black cats from nothing, did they? Where did the seeds of that specific fear come from?
That's a really key point. The church's demonization, it was kind of built on something already there. They tacked into and sort of exploited pre-existing pagan superstitions, especially those rooted in Northern European folklore.
Okay, like what?
We really need to talk about the Celtic traditions here, specifically this figure called the Cat Sith. You might also see it as Kate City.
Right, the cat Sith. That's the big mythical black cat, sometimes with a white spot on its chest.
That's the one. And this creature, in Scottish and Irish folklore, was already linked to the darker side of the supernatural.
How so?
Well, some beliefs said the Cat Sith could steal the souls of the dead, especially during that transition time around Samhain.
The forerunner of Halloween.
Right. But here's the really crucial bit for our story. The belief that the Cat Sith wasn't just a spirit cat, it was actually a witch who had transformed into a cat.
Ah. Okay, so that's where the whole Nine Lives myth comes from. The witch transforming back and forth.
That seems to be the origin, yes. The idea that the witch could shape-shift multiple times, using up lives. So you see, the pagan folklore had already forged this dangerous connection. black cat equals potentially a witch in disguise, something supernatural and maybe malevolent.
So the superstition, the raw material for fear, was already kind of floating around. The church didn't need to invent it from scratch.
Exactly. They didn't create the stigma, they radicalized it. They weaponized it. They took these existing folk beliefs, about shape-shifting and soul-stealing, and they folded them into a much bigger, more organized institutional framework, linking the animal directly to formal heresy, to devil worship. This gave them a powerful tool to justify cracking down on popular magic and old pagan ways during the Middle Ages.
Right, so if the Celts laid the groundwork of fear, the Middle Ages brought the official paperwork, the theological condemnation. Was there a specific moment, like a document or decree, that really marks the point where the cat became an official religious enemy?
There absolutely was a defining moment.
Yeah.
It happened in June 1233.
Okay.
That's when Pope Gregory the Cax issued a papal letter, a decretal epistle known as Vox in Rama.
Vox in Rama, the voice in Rama, what prompted that?
It was basically a direct response to investigations the church was conducting into groups in Germany accused of, Luciferism and other heresies, various secret sects.
And what did this letter actually say?
Vox in Rama is so important because it laid out in detail what these supposed satanic rituals involved. And it explicitly named the cat, often preferably a black cat, as being central to these rites. Part of worshiping the devil, part of the initiation.
Wow, so this wasn't just repeating folklore. This was the Pope, the highest religious authority, making a formal accusation, tying cats directly to Satanism. What happened immediately after Vox and Rama came out? The consequences must have been severe.
Oh, devastating. Absolutely devastating. This document basically transformed popular superstition into a deadly serious religious directive. It gave official permission, legitimacy, for the active, widespread persecution of cats. They were now seen as, demonic accomplices.
A huge shift.
Huge. Before 1233, folk magic might have been viewed with suspicion, but it wasn't always automatically lumped in with devil worship. Vox in Rama, by putting the black cat right in the middle of these supposed satanic rituals, gave the Inquisition a concrete sign, a manual of identification, you could say, for rooting out heretics. It fueled the paranoia about organized witchcraft.
Okay, hang on. If this persecution became widespread, and they were maybe killing a lot of cats, what were the knock-on effects? Did removing this animal cause other problems, physiologically?
Yes, and this leads to one of history's most tragic ironies. The widespread killing of cats that followed this papal decree likely caused a significant drop in the cat population in many parts of Europe. And what do cats primarily hunt?
Rodents, rats, and mice.
Exactly. So you're systematically removing the main predator of rodents.
Oh, rats and mice, which carry fleas.
Precisely. This major disruption to the food chain, the ecological balance, it's now widely considered a significant contributing factor to how explosive the spread of the Black Death, the bubonic plague, was in the 14th century.
Wait, so because of this church-driven paranoia, the very animals Egyptians worshipped for protection were killed off in Europe, which then possibly made the deadliest plague in European history even worse.
That's the horrifying irony.
Yeah.
The animals revered as health protectors in one era were killed in another, potentially helping to spread Europe's greatest demographic disaster. It's almost unbelievable.
Stark doesn't even begin to cover it. Wow. But the cat's negative role didn't end there, did it? It evolved from just being a symbol in these supposed rituals.
Right. It became even more codified, more central to the accusations, moving beyond just, being present at a ritual to becoming actual proof of guilt. This is where we get the concept of the spirit familiar really taking hold in the early modern period.
The familiar, like a demonic assistant for the witch.
Exactly. The cat, especially the black cat, transitioned from being just a symbolic element, like in Vox and Rama, to being seen as tangible physical evidence that a person, usually a woman, had made a pact with the devil. It became crucial evidence in witch trials.
And this idea was pushed hard by specific texts, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Heavily reinforced by witch hunting manuals. The most notorious, of course, is the Malleus Maleficarum.
The Hammer of the Witches, 1486.
That's the one. And it really hammered home this idea of the familiar.
And the Malleus specifically targeted women, linking them more closely to this.
Yes, very much so. The text argued that women were spiritually weaker, supposedly more susceptible to demonic temptations. So it reinforced the idea that witches, predominantly women, would keep an animal familiar, often a cat, as sort of living proof of their demonic allegiance.
And this whole toxic brew of ideas, the wish, the familiar, the black cat, it didn't just stay in Europe, did it?
No, unfortunately not. It crossed the Atlantic with the colonists. And you see the tragic results in places like Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. The idea of the black cat as a witch is familiar was absolutely used as evidence in the Salem witch trials.
So this legacy, this fear, it has really long roots. And even though the witch trials ended centuries ago, the superstition lingers, doesn't it? I mean, in the West, people still talk about bad luck if a black cat crosses your path.
It persists, absolutely. Though it's interesting, this intense stigma isn't actually universal.
Oh, how so?
Well, it's mostly concentrated in cultures that were heavily influenced by that medieval Inquisition-era theology. Even within the West, you get weird variations. Like in Germany, apparently if a black cat crosses your path left to right, that's good luck. But right to left, bad luck.
Huh. That's oddly specific.
Isn't it? But then you go somewhere like the UK or Japan, and the meaning is often completely flipped.
Flipped how? Good luck.
Yes. Black cats are often seen as symbols of good fortune, prosperity. They're thought to bring financial luck into the home. And sailors, historically, they loved having a black cat on board, believed it ensured a safe journey.
This is fascinating. And what about today? In like modern spiritual practices, are people trying to reclaim the cat's image?
Oh, definitely. There's a real counter-movement happening. In modern neo-paganism and Wicca, for instance, the cat, to the black cat, is viewed very positively.
How do they see it?
As a powerful spiritual guide. A symbol of things like balance, intuition, independence, protection of the spiritual realm. These groups are actively working to sort of dismantle that old, negative institutional narrative and restore the cat's ancient reputation as a creature of wisdom and power.
Okay, let's get to maybe the biggest twist in all this. Science versus the centuries of myth. Is there any biological basis at all for the idea that black cats are inherently mean or evil or just have bad temperaments?
Yeah, this is the really fascinating part. The actual scientific evidence points in the complete opposite direction.
Opposite? How?
Well, studies looking at cat genetics and behavior suggest that the specific gene variant responsible for solid black fur, it's called a non-agouti allele, is actually correlated with a more docile and more sociable temperament compared to cats with the standard wild-type tabby pattern gene.
Wait, let me get this straight. The animal that was demonized across Europe for centuries, accused of being the literal sidekick to Satan, might actually be biologically predisposed to be friendlier and more easygoing than other cats.
That appears to be the case. It's the ultimate historical irony, isn't it? Statistically, they seem more likely to be docile and sociable, yet that ancient stigma is still incredibly powerful. We see its impact even today in very practical ways.
You mean with animal shelters, the whole Halloween thing?
Exactly that paradox.
Right.
Because these centuries-old myths about black cats being used in satanic rituals still persist, however unfounded they generally are.
Right.
Many animal rescue organizations feel they have to take protective measures. They often restrict or even pause adoptions of black cats during October around Halloween.
Just to keep them safe from potential harm based on these old fears.
Precisely. It shows how this deep-seated historical paranoia continues to have real-world consequences, forcing shelters into these difficult positions to protect animals from a threat that's largely just a relic of the past.
What an incredible journey we've traced. From Bastit's sacred protector in Egypt, where harming one meant death, all the way to being scapegoated, demonized by the church, maybe even worsening the Black Death. It's just staggering, and all driven by shifting human beliefs and institutional power plays.
It really is. And what's so striking is realizing the whole concept of the bad luck black cat wasn't about the cat at all. It was a manufactured tool. A tool for social control, for prosecuting heresy, for dismantling older beliefs. The historical record is clear the flaw wasn't in the animal, it was in the human systems persecuting it.
So fighting that legacy today means what? Just understanding the history?
Understanding of history is crucial, yes. Countering the paranoia with facts, promoting their actual nature, which science suggests is often gentle and friendly. It requires, I think, a real commitment to historical honesty and ethical treatment, pushing back against centuries of misinformation.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? The persistence of the superstition 8 centuries old, it forces you to ask, what other things we take for granted, maybe everyday symbols or fears? What else might just be the ghost of paranoia, or some forgotten institutional strategy? Things just waiting for us to look closer, use reason, and dismantle them with facts. What will you think about differently the next time a black cat crosses your path?